Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another video of Be the Best DFS Daily Fantasy Sports Talk. Today is August 19th, 2016, and today I'll be going over my lineup strategy for FanDuel's late night slate, the 10:05 slate. I'm actually going to be fading the main slate tonight. I worked my regular job this morning. I worked the Braves this evening. And honestly, I just really haven't had enough time to analyze a full slate. So I thought it would be in my best interest to just go ahead and do the late slate with 4 games. Some of the advantages to doing the late slate, there are no weather concerns. So I don't have to worry about any of that, with all the rainy weather possible at certain possible stadiums. And also get to avoid Coors Field. I hate, trying to decide whether to play or fade Coors, whenever there's games at Coors Field. So those are some positives about, fading the main slate. So I'm just going to focus on the late night slate at 10:05 tonight. And I hope y'all got to watch the video on yesterday. Last night was a successful night. Was able to cash for $85, profit of $55. My lineup put up about 138. I had about 2 or 3 different lineups. My high score was 139 points. And y'all know what I say. I count the wins as a blessing. And, I just thank God that I was able to, earn a little money on last night. It was a great night. Madison Bumgarner, he didn't have his best night, but he did enough in order for me to cash. And, it was just a good night. But just like I can't dwell on the losses, I can't dwell on the wins either. Today is a new day, a new opportunity to be great, a new opportunity to be the best. So let's just get into this slate, the late night slate for FanDuel. All right, starting at the first position of pitcher. My favorite pitcher for tournaments and GPPs would be Johnny Cueto of the San Francisco Giants for 10,200. Okay, Cueto, he's my favorite play at pitcher, but I'm not really confident with it because he's really been struggling, his last few games. If you look at his game log, August 14th, 23 fantasy points at home versus Baltimore. Bad game. August 8th, 15 fantasy points at Miami. Another bad game. He had a decent game against Philadelphia at Philadelphia on August 3rd, 41 fantasy points. And then July 28th at home versus Washington, 15 fantasy points. Another bad game. So basically, he's been struggling like pretty much like the last 3 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks. But out of all when you on the late slate with only 4 games and 8 pitchers to choose from, you don't have that many options. Now, on July 6th, he had 60 fantasy points, which shows he has, high point upside, if he just stay focused. And so let me just talk about some of the things that I do like about Cueto. For one, AT&T Ballpark in San Francisco, it's a pitcher's park. That's a plus. He's at home. That's a plus. It's a National League game, so you get the pitcher's position. That's a plus. And honestly, I still don't respect the Mets lineup. I mean, the only players that I think might turn up on Cueto is possibly Curtis Granderson. I think he got 2 career home runs versus him. Neil Walker, if he plays, he could do some damage. And of course, Jay Bruce, he could do some damage against him with the wind blowing out in San Francisco. And I think Jay Bruce, he got 1 career home run off of Cueto. I'm not positive, but I think that's what I read in the BVP statistics. So those are the main positives I like. Another thing that I considered when I was picking pitcher for the Mets, Steven Matz, he was originally supposed to be the starter for tonight, but I guess he had some problems with his shoulder. So the Mets, they pulling somebody out the bullpen to make a spot start. This guy named Lugo. And so, it's unexpected, and with this guy coming out the bullpen starting, it leads me to believe that possibly the Giants could, score some runs early, get out to a big lead. And if Johnny Cueto, if he's pitching with the run support, I think he'll have a good game. So I'm definitely looking for Cueto to get at least 45 to 50 fantasy points tonight, hopefully more. But like I said, it's a short slate. So the only other two pitchers that I would consider for tournaments and GPPs, one, Tanaka for the Yankees. The Yankees are playing at Los Angeles. But the reason I didn't look too much into him, because I honestly don't like picking pitchers on the road. But Tanaka could be an interesting play. And then the other guy, this probably would be my second choice, Zack Greinke at 9,800. Now, they're playing at San Diego, Petco Park, a pitcher's park. I think the wind is supposed to be blowing from left to right. I read on the MLB at Bat app, Zack Greinke in 14 career starts versus San Diego, he's 7-1 with a 1.91 ERA. Now that's great career statistics, and that everything says that he should have a good game. But he's just not the same player he was like with the Dodgers or even with the Brewers or the Royals or just during his Cy Young years. You look at Zack Greinke's game log, August 14th at Boston, negative 13 fantasy points. That's horrible, but it was at Boston. The game before that, August 9th, at the New York Mets, 39 fantasy points, which is pretty good. But like I said, I don't respect the Mets offense. And then sit outfield is a pitcher's park. So, I mean, that's a good game for him. But then the game before that, at home versus Philadelphia on June 28th, 9 fantasy points. So basically, Zack Greinke, he's inconsistent. I look at his game log. He did have one great game on June 2nd, 66 fantasy points at Houston. But I think at this point in the season, I think his better games are behind him. I could be wrong. San Diego, they do show that they can struggle at times. So I'm not going to say Greinke is a bad play. His price is just only $400 less than Cueto. So I'll say Zack Greinke is an interesting play. And it was close because Greinke and Cueto, they both been inconsistent lately. But for me, the determining factor, I'm going to go with the player pitching at home and who I think is a better pitcher, and that's Johnny Cueto. Not with a lot of confidence, but, it's only 8 pitchers to choose from. Just to mention something about the rest of the pitchers, LeBlanc for Seattle, he might have a decent game, but he don't really have high fantasy point upside. He don't get enough strikeouts. The same thing with Cosart, not enough strikeouts for me. Weaver, I'm not looking at him. I don't think he's really that good. Lugo, like I said, he's coming out the bullpen. And then they got this guy Suter for Milwaukee at 3,000. This is his major league debut. So I'm going to have some interesting plays to attack him. I think going on the road for your major league debut, he could be in for a long night. But, some people may play him. But for me to close out this pitcher position, it was close. I was thinking about it all day. But I'm going to roll with Johnny Cueto, the most expensive pitcher, at $10,200. And now I'm going to move on to the rest of my lineup, how I got it now. By the way, it's about 2:45 here where I'm at in Decatur, Georgia. So the lineups haven't came out or anything. This is just like a preliminary lineup for me. So at catcher position, my favorite player at the catcher position for tournaments and GPPs is Mike Zunino for the Seattle Mariners for $2,900. Now, he's not a popular player, but just to give you some little statistics about him why I like him, he hit a home run on last night. He's a right-handed batter. He only has 7 home runs on the season. So, a lot of people may not know about him, but the guy from Milwaukee, what's his name? Cueto, the pitcher. This is his major league debut. So, he's going to have some nerves. And, he may give up a couple long balls. And when I think of the Seattle Mariners, of any righties that I want to get to go up against this rookie left-hander, of course, I think of Nelson Cruz, just looking through their lineup, Gutierrez, and Zunino. I like Zunino. He's a platoon-type player, a good price tag of $2,900. Homer last night, playing at home against a rookie making his major league debut. I like Zunino tonight for tournaments and GPPs. Just to go over other catchers that you can consider. Of course, Buster Posey going up against a bullpen guy who's trying to start tonight at home in San Francisco. The wind's blowing out. Buster Posey is definitely a good option. Wellington Castillo, he could be a good option because he had the night off yesterday, so fresh legs. Tough ballpark, but he could have a good night. The guy from New York, Gary Sanchez, still don't know much about him, but to start off the season, he's hot. 5 home runs. The wind is blowing out at Angel Stadium tonight. So Gary Sanchez, he could definitely be a good play also. I think he could be a great play because, he just got called up, so he's trying to prove himself. And he got 5 home runs in only 13 games played. And he hits for a high average of 360. So, that's about it. That all I see at the catcher position. Again, I like Zunino. Decent price of $2,900. Righty versus lefty matchup. And he homered last night. And he's playing at home versus a pitcher making his major league debut. So, I like Zunino. Moving on to the next position of first base. This was kind of tough for me too. Right now I got Brandon Belt for the San Francisco Giants at $3,400. Lefty versus righty matchup. Like I mentioned earlier, Lugo, the pitcher for the Mets, he's a bullpen guy. He's not used to starting. San Francisco has great home field advantage. They won a few World Series, about 3 World Series over the last 5 or 6 years. Let me see. Brandon Belt, he's been struggling, so he's been on a downward trend. Last 3 games, August 18th, 0 fantasy points. August 17th, 6 fantasy points. And August 16th, 3 fantasy points. But like I said, the Giants, they have a lot to play for right now. They trying to get in the playoffs. So, Brandon Belt is who I like at first base. And also, as I get to the end of my lineup, I'll explain how he's part of the stack. But I had a tough time deciding between Brandon Belt, Chris Carter, Will Myers, and Albert Pujols, mainly because they're all around the same price, which made it kind of tricky. I really, really like Carter because the guy for Seattle, the pitcher for Seattle, is a lefty, LeBlanc. And Chris Carter is a lefty killer. He can really hit the ball a long way. 27 home runs on the season. He be killing lefties. But, he's on the road and he doesn't bat for a high average. He bats .218. But he could be a great tournament play because he loves to hit left-handed pitching. And then Will Myers, if you're interested in the San Diego stack, he could be a good option. He had a good night on last night, 18.9 fantasy points. But then I thought about the ballpark, Petco Field, and Zack Greinke being a pretty decent pitcher. So that's why I didn't choose him. And Pujols, the same thing. The wind's blowing out at Angel Stadium. But I thought about the opposing pitcher that he's facing, Tanaka. And Tanaka, he's a pretty decent pitcher also, when he got his mind right. So I just decided to go with Brandon Belt, because that's the lefty versus righty matchup, playing at home, and he bats a decent batting average of .276. All right, moving on to my next position, second base. This is one of the positions I really didn't analyze too much. I just like Ryan Schimpf. I like his price. I like it being a lefty versus righty matchup. And he's at home where I think he plays better because I believe he's a rookie. So, he definitely have the potential to have a big fantasy game. Just look at August 12th, 51.4 fantasy points in a pitcher's park in New York at Citi Field. So although Petco Park in San Diego is a pitcher's park, I like Schimpf tonight for 3,000. Other second baseman, Cano, I'll say he's interesting. I really believe in that lefty-lefty and righty-righty matchups, and being that it's a left-handed pitcher pitching for Milwaukee, although it's his debut, I'm not sure about Cano. I may switch back to him later, but he's an interesting play. His price tag is also kind of high at 3,800. Segura, I think he's a possibly good play. All the Arizona Diamondbacks are in play. And other than that, I don't see any other second baseman that I feel is worth mentioning, in my opinion. So I'm just going to move on to the next position, third base. This is a position I didn't analyze much either. It's a short slate. It's only 4 games, so it's not much to look at. I like Jake Lamb for 3,200. He's at a decent price, and he does have home run upside. 24 home runs on the season. It's a lefty versus righty matchup going up against Cozart, who's a mediocre pitcher. Lamb, he's been on a little hot streak. Not as far as hitting home runs, but just fantasy points in general. August 18th, 12.2 fantasy points. August 16th, 12.2 fantasy points. And August 15th, 13.2 fantasy points. Those are his last 3 games. So in a lefty versus righty matchup and a player that's trending in the positive direction, I like Jake Lamb tonight for my third base position. And if you just strictly think about home run upside at the third base position, of all the third basemen on this late night slate, Jake Lamb, he has the most home runs. He got 24. I think Kyle Seager is probably second with 22. So put the home run upside, well, when you combine the home run upside with his last 3 games and it being a lefty versus righty matchup versus a mediocre pitcher, I like Jake Lamb tonight. He's almost pretty much like a lock for me at third base. Moving on to the next position, shortstop. There were 2 players I was considering for this position. My favorite play is Brandon Crawford for the Brandon Crawford for the San Francisco Giants at $3,000. Lefty versus righty matchup going up against this bullpen pitcher for the New York Mets. At home, the Giants have a lot to play for. I think he's in a perfect spot. The only other shortstop I was considering was Didi Gregorius at 2,900 because he's been having a pretty good season. 16 home runs on the season. He didn't have a good game his last game, but just his season as a whole, he's been doing pretty good. Lefty versus righty matchup going up against Weaver, who I think is a mediocre pitcher. Gregorius is someone I was strongly considering, but I give the edge to Crawford. He's playing at home. He had a good game last night, so I like to look for players who's on like a hot trend. Just to mention, Brandon Crawford's last 2 games. Last night, 18.4 fantasy points, and August 17th, 25.5 fantasy points. And we must not forget what he did on August 8th. I know y'all got to know this. He got 7 base hits in the game in Miami, 46 fantasy points. 7 hits, that's amazing. So, Crawford, I like him at shortstop, and he's a part of a mini stack I got going on with this lineup. And moving on to the last position, the outfield position. I personally felt this guy's a must-play tonight. Nelson Cruz for the Seattle Mariners. Like I said, the Brewers, they're starting a rookie tonight. Major League debut on the road, left-handed pitcher. And, Nelson Cruz, he's a player that feasts off of left-handed pitching. So, I like him tonight. Playing at home, I know this rookie, well, not unless he's not, I didn't research him much, but not unless he's like a top prospect or something like that. This rookie, he should give up, a couple home runs to, some players tonight. And I think Nelson Cruz is the most likely one to do that. And also, Nelson Cruz homered on last night. He can be a streaky player at times. So at 3,900, he's one of the players I like at outfield. And my last two outfield positions, this is basically salary moves and matchups. I like Gutierrez for the Seattle Mariners. They gave him the night off on, when was it? Let me look. Franklin Gutierrez for 2,700 of the Seattle Mariners. They gave him the night off on last night because they were facing a right-handed pitcher. So tonight they're facing a left-handed pitcher, which means he'll likely start. Only 11 home runs on the season, but I like to pick players in these spots when they have the nights off and the matchup, lefty versus righty matchup against this rookie pitcher. I think Gutierrez, he's a player that will go lowly on. You know, a lot of people don't know about him unless you like really into this baseball. And I like him tonight for his price. So he's one of the last two outfielders I like. And then the final outfielder I have in my lineup for right now is Denard Span for 2,700 for the San Francisco Giants. If I'm not mistaken, Denard Span, he leads off in the lineup typically. Lefty versus righty matchup against his bullpen pitcher in Lugo. So I think he's in a good spot. He had a good game on last night. Only 12 fantasy points, but he was 3 for 4. Got 3 hits, and he got a little bit of stolen base upside. 12 stolen bases on the season. So I like Denard Span right there in the outfield. And just to mention other outfielders that you can consider tonight, of course, Mike Trout. You know, he's one of the best players in the league. If you can find a way to fit him in, you might want to play him. But Tanaka, he is a pretty decent pitcher. So, you know, I don't know if Mike Trout would get off tonight. Ryan Bryan, you know, he's been banged up a little bit, but, you know, it's highly likely he could hit a home run, lefty versus righty matchup. But, you know, I'm not on him tonight. Who else? BVP play for you guys. Jacoby Ellsbury for the New York Yankees. Lefty versus righty matchup. In 18 at-bats over the last 5 years versus Weaver. He's batting .333 with 1, maybe 2 career home runs. I'm not really sure exactly what it is. And if you feeling the Padres like I felt them last night, I think Dickerson is a good play. Dickerson could be a great play. I might even switch up to Dickerson, but you know I kind of got a stack working here. So, and considering that Greinke does have the potential to pitch a good game, and Petco Park being a good park, I feel comfortable fading. You know most of the Padres tonight. You know they did good for me last night, but I may have to fade them tonight. And also Angel Pagan for the San Francisco Giants. Switch hitter, price tag of only 2,600, 13 stolen bases on the season, a nice batting average of 296. I think he's definitely in play. And to be quite honest with you, I like the whole Giants lineup tonight. I mean, the Mets are throwing someone out who's not a regular starter. This guy is used to coming in the middle of the game, just getting maybe a couple outs or so. He's not used to starting. So I think it's going to be a long night for Lugo, the pitcher of the Mets. And I think it's going to be a good night for the batters of the Giants. And hopefully, you know, Johnny Cueto has his mind right and pitch a good game. So just to recap, you know, my preliminary lineup I have for right now, I'm going with Johnny Cueto at pitcher. And I got 2 little mini stacks. I got a mini stack of, the Seattle Mariners of some right-handed power. Nelson Cruz, Mike Zunino, and Franklin Gutierrez. Then I have a mini stack of some Giants. Brandon Crawford, Denard Span, and Brandon Belt. And both of those mini stacks are all in the favorable lefty-righty matchup or righty-lefty matchup when you match the pitcher versus the hitter. And then I got a couple one-offs that I feel good about in Jake Lamb and Ryan Schimpf. So that's what I have for now. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Lineups, it's a long way for these late night lineups to come out. But, I feel good about it. Had a good night on last night, and I'm looking forward to having some more success tonight. Going to wrap this up. I definitely want to just thank everyone who's taking the time out to view this video today. I appreciate your support. Thank everyone who's joined the Facebook group, Be the Best DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports Talk. Just search the hashtag Be the Best DFS. And thanks to everyone who's joined, follow the Twitter account at Be the Best DFS. And I also want to thank everyone who's been commenting on the videos. Like all the comments on the videos, the likes on the videos, the follows on Twitter, when people join the group, it's all encouraging and motivating to me. And I really do appreciate it. And it just motivates me to just keep working hard at this and, trying to be successful. So basically, again, thank you for all your support. Hopefully, if you find this video helpful, or if you like what I'm talking about in this daily fantasy, please subscribe and tell people about it. And another thing, I'm trying to step my game up on Twitter. If y'all following the Twitter account and you like the videos and like everything I'm doing, do me a favor and just tweet hashtag Be the Best DFS so we can get some more people on this team. But again, thanks everyone. I'm about to rest up a little bit before I head out to Turner Field and go to the Braves game. Good luck to all y'all who play on the main slate. I didn't even really look at it, but this late night slate, I'm ready to turn up on it and win some money. So yeah, thanks again. I'm about to end the video, and I'll leave y'all with what I always leave y'all with. Try to be the best tonight. All right, I'm out.